Hi everyone! Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome, I'm Stefania. Today I'm gonna do a little flip through of my reading journal so I can show you the pages that I've created in October. As always, I'm gonna start from the yearly pages and then I'm gonna move to the monthly pages. My yearly pages, I'm not gonna spend too much time talking about them because they work in the same way every single month, and I think that if you've seen one of my flip through, then watching the following videos, it can be a little bit boring because the pages are the same, they don't change, I just update them. So after a little bit it's pointless to keep on saying how they work because I get it, it can be boring. I've had the books I've read in October here, and let me tell you one thing, October was a wonderful month. I've read so many, actually not a lot, but all of them except for one were amazing books. So it was a wonderful month. As you can see here, I don't have a lot of white books anymore, and I'm so happy because this means that I'm getting closer to my goal for this year. So excited. Book log, I've added the books I read in October. This month I've started having again a few e-books, not only physical books, so it's wonderful, just to change a little bit. Reading tracker, October, I've read each single day, again I'm so happy, which means that if I manage to do it also in November and December, I'm gonna reach my yearly goal, which is amazing. And there have been a few days in which I've read more than 100 pages, so I'm really happy and proud of myself. Books of 2023. These are the books that I've read, and as you can see from the stars, it was a pretty good month. And I still have space for November and December. I don't know if I'm gonna use it all or not, who knows. I hope that I will not need extra space because I don't know how to add more space here. So I'm gonna see how it's gonna end up. However, here there is space for more than 60 books because I left a little bit more space in case I was reaching my goal and reading a few books more. So we're gonna see how it's gonna end up. Pick one. My favorite book of the month was Behind the Net. So this is the one that's gonna go against RTD Camelot when I'm gonna go through this whole battle. I'm gonna do this at the end of the year, however, when I have them all. Then there is my favorite books, and here's the thing, I had it Behind the Net and I'm gonna talk a little bit about this book later on, but when I was done with it I gave it 5 stars, so this is why it's here. Monthly reads, here I've read all the books that I've read in October. Series tracker, I think I've had it one series. I've realized one thing, that I've been using this tracker for series, but I've realized I'm only writing fantasy series here. Like for example, I've read The Fine Print, this is why I've realized it. And now the second book came out in Italy and I've just bought it and I was like, okay, wait a second. I looked at this page and I was like, oh, I get it. Basically, I'm keeping track of all the series, but if they're fantasy series, I don't know why. This is how it happened. Maybe I'm gonna update it with everything else, who knows, but so far I don't know why. Maybe because with fantasy series it's hard to have a series with standalones inside and not it's impossible to read them without reading them all, if it makes sense. Well, for example, if you're gonna read The Fine Print, yes, it's part of a series, but it's also standalone, so I don't know, maybe my brain didn't see it as a thing to track. Bingo! I still have 2 things left, which I think I'm gonna color them with December. One is finishing a reading challenge, which is gonna be my Una Rosa one. I've decided to go with that one. And one is 60 books, which is my goal for this year. And I think that I'm gonna be able to do it with December. I don't think I'm gonna reach the number in November, but I might be wrong. I don't know. We're gonna see how it's gonna go. Goodreads challenge with October, I've reached 53 books. And yes, I still have to update the Goodreads. I think I've updated it with the books I read in June. So I still have July, August, September, October, 4 months to update, plus the books that I am reading in November. Okay, it's a mess. But I really want to have it fully updated, so I'm gonna try my best to do it. I still have to read 7 books to reach my goal, and I think I can do it with November and December. I don't think I can read 7 books in November, no at all, because by the time I'm doing this flip through, I've only finished 1 book, which took me forever because I wasn't really into it. I don't know. But I don't think that I can read 6 more books only in November. It's out of this world for me to think I can do it. And I will not pressure myself to do that. So I think I'm gonna finish this one with December. Rainbow Challenge. I'll update probably the end of the year if I feel like doing it. Una Rosa. This month was sport romance and I decided to read Behind the Net, which I loved. This page has been updated, yes, but nothing has been added, so we can move on. I don't remember if I've updated this too. I mean, this one, I just forget about the keys. Why? I don't know. Next year I have to think to do this in another way. And I think probably I've updated the Disney one with something, but I can't remember. Anyway, I was already knowing that I would have been able to finish the Disney one because it has a lot of things. Generous page, I've updated it. As always, don't ask me with what because I can't remember right now. Reading stats. In October, I've read 6 books. 3 of them were books and 3 were physical books. I've read 2,372 pages. I read for 31 days. 1 book in English and 5 books in Italian. And then this is the stars that I gave this month. And again, except for 1 book, the others were wonderful books. So I'm really happy. I think that now we can move to the monthly pages so we can talk about October. This is my cover page, and as always I remember that if you want you can check out the Plan With Me video because it's online. I will not repeat my stats page because I've just talked about them with my Hilly pages. Monthly view, as you can see, was a smart thing not to add anything at the bottom, so leave enough space because I needed it. I've read 6 books and I've started a new one by the end of the month, which then I finished in November, so it's gonna be in November. As you can see, it's crystal clear that by now I am not a person that loves to read multiple books at once. So you can only see me reading 2 different books in the same days when I finish one and I start the next one. I don't know, I'm gonna probably think about doing it in the future because again in November I had another book which was like a pain to read. You're gonna ask me why you didn't DNF, and that's just because it was for a book club and I wanted to read it fully to be able to talk about it in details and not be like, you know, I didn't have to, that's it, I just wanted to finish it. But I think that in the future, if something like this happens again, I might consider starting reading another book together so that I will not risk to just stop myself there. Reading tracker, as I've said in my Hilly pages, I managed to read each single day and I'm so happy about it. And I'm extremely happy because there are all these days in which I've read more than 100 pages and it's wonderful. I'm really proud of myself because reading is now a daily habit of mine and I just love it. Then there is my books of October, where I've had the 6 books that I've read in October, but again, this spread is quite pointless by now. I just don't spend so much time on this spread anymore, because at the beginning I was using it to track several things, but then I've created new spreads, I've changed some others, and this one ended up being pointless, so I'll keep on creating it until December. By the way, I'm obsessed with these cute stickers. And now I think we can move to the spreads that are created for the books that I read. As always, I will not talk too much about the books because I don't want to give any spoilers. This is a playthrough video, it's not a review I've started the month with this book, which I think is called With We Onto the Flame in English, if I'm not wrong, and I absolutely loved it. The beginning, let's say it's a slow one, okay, but at a certain point things start to happening and there's so much going on. I loved everything about this book. I loved the story, the characters. I was so taken by this book that I didn't want to put it down, but I've ended up giving it 4 stars and a half because of the beginning. That was definitely an, let's say, hard thing for me because it was a little bit too slow. You know, I would have loved to have a faster rhythm if it was possible, but anyway, I loved it, absolutely yes. Here is the problem that I had with this book and also with the second one, but especially with the first one. There were some words that haven't been translated, and I don't get why. Because, for example, instead of letting no written in the original language, they could have translated it to no. And every single time there was this word, I had to stop and look up what the word was meaning, like, okay, what it is this? And this made sure that I was stopping a lot, and I hated it. But here is the thing, and it's that at the end there is a little dictionary. So there are a few pages in which there are all of these words with what they actually mean. I found out about this only when I was about at the 60% of the book, so basically I've read half of the book constantly looking up for words. And it was my mistake, but in my defense, I never look at the end of the book because I'm so scared of always getting the big spoiler about the ending, and I don't want that. Also because if I know how a book ends, it's hard for me to read that book. I know myself. This is the problem that I had, but again, it's my problem because if you're familiar with these words, it's not gonna be a problem for you. But I was like reading it and I was hating being in the middle of something that was happening, having to stop, go and look up at the word, like what it is, what does it mean, and then going back. But without considering this problem with the words and the names, because it's something that I consider a personal thing, probably, however, instead of writing the meaning of the words at the end, in this case, I would have written them at the bottom of the page, but this is my personal choice. This does not take anything away from this book, and this book was something that I absolutely loved so much, so once I was done with it, I had to go and read the second one. I loved the factor that it's an extremely slow burn as well. There were so many things I loved about this book, but sadly, especially for the beginning, I didn't feel like giving it 5 stars, but it was absolutely a lovely read and it was definitely worth my time. And as I finished the first one, I had to read the second one, and I, again, was obsessed with it. Another 4 stars and a half. And here is the thing. This one has some parts which are like the beginning of the first book, are definitely too slow for me. Then when things happen, everything is happening, like it's crazy. But I absolutely loved it. I loved everything about this one just as much as the first one, and you definitely see the characters going through a lot, especially the 2 main characters. I saw them growing. I saw them going through a lot of questions, like, okay, but now that we want to do this and this is gonna happen, who am I? What is my purpose in life? I was obsessed with it. Or like, is it really what I want to do? I've been spending my entire life trying to do this, but is it really worth it? Like, is it really something that I want to do? What if my priorities changed? What if now I'm more interested in somebody instead than a role? What if the role that was covering up doesn't exist anymore? Like, I absolutely loved it. From the beginning till the very end. Third book of the month was a book that I had to read for a book club in which I'm in, and since we meet in person, I always want to read the book since the beginning till the end. This is a little bit what I was saying earlier, which is I hate going somewhere to talk about a book without having a full picture of it. Have I enjoyed it? Yes. Have I loved it? No. It's definitely not my style of book. It's really out of my comfort zone for several things. I gave it 3 stars. What helped me going through the book was definitely the writing style. It's not really a common one. There are words which usually you don't see in books. I'm not one of those people that finished the book and was like, okay, I want to read the second, then so goes on. No, I've started this series with this one, and with this one I'm gonna finish it. I don't care about what's happening after, because it's definitely not my style, and it took me a little bit to read this whole book. I had problems with the world building in this case, because my brain just wasn't able to fully picture it. I don't know, I was seeing a part of it, but not the full picture. And this is what created a lot of problems as well. It was hard for me to get into the story, and I hated it. Because usually when the world building is amazing and I get fully into it, I feel the story 100 times more. In this case, it was hard. I was having a problem even with the characters, like I couldn't see them. It wasn't a bad book, but not even my type of book. I can't tell you I felt the story, because for the majority part of it I wasn't even understanding a thing, but somebody who had already read the book was like, oh, don't worry, if you reach the 70% you'll probably still be like, you don't get it, you don't understand anything, it's normal, but everything will make sense by the end. Okay, but I hated that feeling. Then it was time for Una ragazza d'altri tempi by an Italian author. 4 stars. I don't think this is out in any other language. I think there's only in Italian, but I'm gonna say a few words anyway, because I loved it. Yes, 4 stars. Pretty good. I started reading other books by her this year, and I can tell you that there were horror books that were better than this one. I liked it, yes, but like more than 4 stars, I couldn't do it, because I already knew the ending. There were some parts that were like, okay, but why, how, what? I wouldn't have put them. The thing I love about this book is that there is a mystery in it, and that is the part that was definitely the main one for me. I think that the one was more interesting than the love story itself. I'm sorry, but I love this so much. I think that she should try writing more thrillers, because I think she would do an amazing job instead of focusing only on romances, but that's my personal opinion. Anyway, I loved it, yes, and I simply like her writing style, so I knew that it wouldn't have been possible to be hugely disappointed by this book, because I love usually her style, but also her characters and stories. They're really lovable. Then it was time for Behind the Net, and this is the thing. I gave it 5 stars, yes. But now if I have to think about it again, probably I will give it 4 stars and not 5 stars. However, I'm not gonna go and change it, because if I have to look at all the books I read, I know that I will find something that will make me be like, okay, this isn't the right, no, don't give it 2 stars, why? I already know it, so I'm not gonna do it. But I love this book, yes. First of all, it's an insta love, so if you're more for slow burn, don't get into this one. Sport romance, yes. What I loved about this book, more than the love story between the 2 main characters, is the topics. There is something more than just a normal love story. In this book, you're gonna see depression, you're gonna see a toxic relationship, you're gonna see a girl that is not capable of doing what she wants, because she feels the, let's say, the need and the pressure to just be the person that her parents want her to be. You'll see these 2 main characters grow, yes, absolutely. Jamie is the man who had to grow up early in his life and be an adult already during his childhood, because his mom, all the parts in which we're reading about Jamie dealing with her mom's depression, these are pure gold for me, because usually people focus so much on the one who has to deal directly with depression, so the one who's depressed. While in this book you see the effect of that on someone else. And if you've ever went through something like that, you'll understand the main character so much. You'll get why Jamie is like, I can do this, I can do that, I can't. Because I know that some people will be like, why don't you just move on? It's your life, you're an adult now, it's your problem. And this is exactly what I loved about this book. Because if you know what it's like to be somebody in his shoes, you'll understand that it's not that easy. Because you feel guilty. You feel like you can't do it. Because you feel like you're the adult, you're the one who has to take care of the other. You're not a child. You've never been able to be one. And growing up, you feel like you'll never be able to have your own life. Because everything has to revolve around that person with depression. And it's not easy to understand. But I get him 100%. Well, people, I absolutely loved her growing and realizing that her ex-boyfriend shouldn't be the one who defines who she is and if she's worth it or not. I think that she had to go through a lot to understand who she is and to actually understand that even if her parents invested so much in her education, if it's not what she wants to do, she can change it. It's not easy to do anything of them. The story is nothing new, I agree, but the characters and what they have to deal with, that is the part that got me the most, and this is why I gave 5 stars to this book. But probably by now it will be a 4 stars and a half. Last book of the month was Minor Detail. I've decided to read this book because I wanted to show support to the author because of what happened to her, which I don't think is right at all, absolutely no. And I wanted to show support by reading a book of hers, and since this was the book that was supposed to get an award, thanks to this one, I was like, okay, I'll read it. I've read the plot, so I quite have an idea of what it was about, and since it wasn't a long one, I knew that I wouldn't be able to find a deep story or characters that would have grown a lot through the book, but I wasn't definitely prepared to the book itself. Like, it wasn't what I was expecting it to be, even if I knew the plot and I knew that it was short. I was a little bit disappointed with it. 1 star and a half, which isn't good. I was hoping to give it definitely more stars. The fact is that what left me a little bit like this, and I don't know if it was something that the author wanted to do, because the book itself was titled Minor Detail, was actually focusing on small details but not on details, which usually we don't even consider as details. Like the first thing that I've noticed was that the characters never have a name. At the beginning I was thinking it was a choice of the author because the main character of the first part is an Israel soldier, and therefore she wanted to leave him nameless for a personal choice. But when I've reached the second part of the book, in which the main character is a Palestinian woman, I was surprised that even this woman doesn't have a name. And it's something that I hate about books, like not knowing names, because there's not a single name in the whole book. You'll never read a name of a character, and this was something that left me a little bit like, what? Why? Another thing that I just keep on trying to understand is what had the first and second part to do one with another. And sadly, I already knew how it would have ended up. I already knew that she wouldn't have a chance to go through her whole plan. And this is so sad because it's not a spoiler by the book, it's because of how reality is. I didn't like it and I'm so sorry because I was really hoping to enjoy it, but giving it a higher number of stars, saying I loved it just because of the injustice that she went through, would have been wrong for me. Maybe I'm the one that hasn't got the point of the book. I don't know, maybe I should have read something more about the book, like maybe an interview to through the author. Maybe she said something about it that would have helped me understanding a little bit more what I was getting into. So this is what I've read in October. I was wondering, have you read these books? If yes, what do you think about them? If no, are you planning on reading them? I would say that it was a lovely month because I had a lot of books that got more than 4 stars, so it's lovely. As always, thank you so much for your support. If you've enjoyed this video, remember to give it a thumb up and to subscribe for more videos like this one. Let me know with a comment if you've read these books or not, or if you have them in your TBR. As always, thank you so much for your support. See you next time. Bye!